it takes.
Ready to upgrade your combine in 2024? The team at Landmark Implement is here to help find the right combine to fit your operations needs. Choose from 4.5% for up to 60 months or a 12-month interest waiver, followed by John Deere financial rates with approved credit through the end of February. When you purchase the pre-owned S or X Series combine from Landmark, know you are backed by Landmark's extensive parts and service network with mobile techs and parts drop-off points to keep you up and running. View our current inventory online at landmarkimp.com or stop by your local Landmark to experience the Landmark difference.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstoRats.com for amazing offers. And if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Call Bats to Rats today at 402-781-8691. That's 402-781-8691. Bats to Rats.
Stop by the brand new Midwest Bank this Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. for their grand opening. J&DP will be broadcasting on-site for Old School, and there will be tons of prizes available for anyone who stops by, as well as complimentary food and drinks. That's this Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. at Midwest Bank on 70th and Pioneers.
Delicious, decadent, scrumptious, delightful. What other words can I use to describe something so good I can't even tell it's healthy? How about heavenly? Chef Bob created heavenly waffles with an incredible fluffy recipe packed with protein and loaded with a plethora of angelic toppings to elevate the experience beyond the typical waffle and syrup. Don't just take our word for it. Join us for Heavenly Waffles Wednesday to experience heaven for yourself.
Enjoy Heavenly Waffles this Wednesday, February 28th from 8 to 11 a.m. in our 93.7 The Ticket studios. Parking is available along 11th Street and in nearby garages.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is Adam Carriker on The Ticket.
Position right of the quarterback, out of the shotgun, first and 20. Jailbreak screen in the air. It is tipped. It is intercepted by Carriker at the Missouri 21-yard line.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, 8-year NFL vet and All-American defensive lineman Adam Carriker.
Shotgun snap to Everett. He's got the left arm going, and now he's got a whole lot of Adam Carriker who rips him down inside the 25-yard line.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here's your host, Adam Carriker.
Welcome, everybody, into Adam Carriker on The Ticket. All right. I got to admit, it was a great weekend of Husker sports. There is so much to talk about. I mean, my goodness. I'm going to talk about anything from baseball to softball to basketball to swim and dive to a dunk contest to court stormings. I'm going to put a little bit of a button and a bow on my college football playoff thoughts from last Friday. I hope they made sense, and if they didn't, I'm going to put that bow on, so hopefully they do make just a smidge of sense to you fine folks at home. But here's what I got to admit. It was a great weekend. I woke up at 3:30 this morning, did not go back to sleep. I might have a case of the Mondays, ladies and gentlemen. But here's the funny part. The instant I sat down, I was like dragging all morning. I was tired all morning. I'm human too. I know I'm big and I got a loud voice and I talk fast and I talk a lot. I don't always talk like this, by the way. There are times when I'm actually very, very quiet because, by God, who has the energy to be like this all the time? It just comes out. You put a microphone in front of me, it comes out. I just love what I do. My point is, I sit down. The music hits, the shattering glass, Stone Cold's walking down. He's got the brewskis. He's got the one finger in the air. The one finger when you put up, when you just don't. Eminem will finish that line for me. And I'm just like, you know what? It's like I got all the energy in the world. So I'm excited to do this show. Let's light this candle. I was going to say I got a case of the Mondays, but the instant, like I said, I sit down, I start talking, the glass shatters, and it's like I got all the energy in the world. All right. It's a great Monday. Going to be a great week. Let's light this candle. Now, there's some other things I want to talk about as well. Court stormings, as well as something I did not mention, I don't think, a second ago. All right. But I want to put a bow on my thoughts from the college football playoff from last Friday. I'm going to go through it quickly. If you missed it, I talked about it Friday, but I thought it was a little confusing at the end of the show. So I just want to make it make sense, if for nobody else other than you fine folks at home, hopefully for myself. So my thought, like I said a million times, ACC's hanging on for dear life, getting their butts kicked by FSU. As soon as FSU's out the door, the ACC is going to be hanging on by a thread. Boom, probably going to be gone. Like I said Friday, they can merge with the mighty Pac-2, with whatever teams that are left in the ACC after FSU bolts and Clemson bolts and Miami bolts and Virginia bolts and North Carolina bolts and Vatech bolts and all these schools bolt. And they can form the worst geographical conference of all time, and that might have 7 teams in it. Okay, so I want to talk about the other conferences real quick. Now, my thought is eventually the Big Ten, the SEC, should have 20 teams in the conference. The Big 12, although not as, let's be real, they're not going to be a major power conference anymore after going forward after this, but they should have 20 teams too. And then the G5, as it's currently called right now, should be the G3 with 20 teams in each one of those conferences. And no, I don't think they should break away because I still like the idea of a Cinderella, a Boise State over Oklahoma, a Utah over Alabama in the Sugar Bowl a couple years after that. Nobody ever talks about that game. Okay, when they beat a top 5 Alabama team, spanked them. Utah went undefeated, beat them by 2 touchdowns. Okay, and I don't want to hear, they didn't want to be there. Well, back then, bowl games actually did matter, so they did want to be there. They just got beat. And if they didn't want to be there, shame on you. Now it's a completely different world, day and age. I completely get that. You can buy that argument a little bit more than you could about, what was that game, 15 years ago? It was about 08, 09? Maybe it was after my rookie year, 07. So, my thoughts are this. Where FSU is going to go, nobody really knows. Geographically, the SEC makes sense. The Big Ten, you're going to make more money. And I kind of made the argument, it might behoove Notre Dame to join a conference. Now, they're always going to get the conference championship game bye if they don't join a conference because they're never going to play a conference championship game. But then they're never going to get the first round bye because they're never going to have a conference championship, so they can't be a top 4 seed. So that's kind of a wash, if you will. I could actually argue not having to play in a conference title game, having a bye right before the playoffs themselves, that could be a huge advantage for them. Now, we're probably going to go to 14 teams, okay? When they told you it was 12, it was a lie. 14 is not going to be the end. The best we could ever hope for is no more than 16. Okay, and I don't understand why you want to see a 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15. I mean, we've already killed the regular season. Took it out back and shot it like Old Yeller, my favorite movie growing up. Watched that thing no less than 1 million times, rounding down with that. I like to have some sort of semblance of a conference championship game mattering. So my point is simply this, okay? I think we are going to go to eventually 14 teams, but we're 12 at the moment. And like I mentioned Friday, the Big Ten wants 4 automatic bids eventually. The SEC wants 4 bids. The Big 12 gets their conference champion. The ACC at the moment gets their conference champion. A G5 gets their conference champion. That leaves 1 at-large spot for Notre Dame to try to win. Okay, the other problem Notre Dame's going to run into, now if we go to 14 teams, there's 3 spots in the college football playoff for Notre Dame to get into. The other issue they're going to run into, teams are going to start not wanting to schedule a bunch of tough out-of-conference games from the SEC and Big Ten teams anyways. So Notre Dame might have a hard time playing anybody that's any good at all. So they're probably going to have to join a conference. So let's just, for kicks and grins, let's say Notre Dame joins the Big Ten because maybe something in today's college football day and age can make geographical sense. Maybe. I enjoyed watching Notre Dame, Michigan growing up. Notre Dame, Michigan State, I'd watch it every other year. Okay, but some of those games, they had their in-state rivalry with Purdue because they're both Indiana teams. Let's say Florida State joins Notre Dame, and that's the pairing that goes to the Big Ten to get them to 20 teams. And here's what I wanted to clear up from Friday. I think the teams that would then go to the SEC would be North Carolina, Clemson, and Miami. Now, I kind of poked a little fun at Georgia Tech, but in all seriousness, they got that Atlanta TV market. It's kind of like, why is Rutgers and Maryland in the Big Ten? You know why? The New York TV market, the DMV, Washington, Virginia, Maryland TV market. That's why they're in. Maybe Georgia Tech, even though they're an afterthought compared to Georgia, maybe that Atlanta TV market is attractive to them. Why in the world is SMU in the ACC? the Dallas TV market. So maybe because of that, Georgia Tech becomes appealing to some conferences. But I'm going to go with North Carolina, Clemson, Miami, and Virginia going to the SEC. Okay, these are what I think what happened / should happen, kind of sort of mixed together without going into a whole rigmarole and spending 14 hours on this. So, who goes into the Big 12? Because right now they're at 16 teams. Who are the 4 teams that go to the Big 12 to get them to 20? This is what I felt was a little bit confusing when I tried to express myself on Friday, and then we're going to move on. I believe Virginia Tech will go, and either Duke or NC State. Now, I've heard that NC State's actually more appealing to big conferences than Duke. I still find that hard to believe. Okay? I'm going to go with Duke just because of basketball to the Big 12. Now, maybe they both go, Duke and NC State. I don't know. But I'm going to go with Va Tech, Duke. And then the top 4 contenders after that for the remaining 2 spots to get them to 20 teams is Louisville, Georgia Tech with that Atlanta TV market, Pitt, or Boston College, and only because of that Boston TV market. And between those 4, I'm not really sure which 2 would go, but my guess would be Pitt, okay, and probably Louisville. But I could be wrong because I'm leaving out the Atlanta TV market with Georgia Tech and the Boston TV market with Boston College. And poor Wake Forest, they storm courts, but other than that, nobody ever talks about them or really wants them. No disrespect. They can join the Pac-2 to the Pac-3 and whatever the Pac ends up being. All right, so I got a question already. William Adair, why do you not like the D2 or D3 format? Because the regular season doesn't matter. I like college football to be a little bit more unique, one of one compared to everything else. Now, we got the college football playoff. It's expanding. It's going to keep expanding. If you go to 14 teams, it's got to be the top 2 seeds get an automatic first-round bye. Well, there's going to be 2 major conferences at that point. No disrespect, Big 12. I dubbed them the SEC Big 10 reject team conference. No disrespect. I know that's not respectful, but more of a joke than anything, kind of. My point is, it should probably just be the Big 10 and SEC champ every year, get the 1 and 2 seed. And if they play some 15 or 16 seed, I mean, what's the point? Why don't we make that conference championship game at least matter a little bit more with the bye, things of that nature. All right. I didn't want to spend too much time on that. I just wanted to clear up from Friday. All right. Here are the new things from the weekend to talk about. 5 Huskers competed in a slam dunk contest at halftime of the basketball game over this weekend. The 5 contestants were defensive lineman Kai Wallen, running back Emmett Johnson, defensive back Jeremiah Charles, tight end Thomas Fedoni, and quarterback Heinrich Harburg. Now, the 2 men in the finalists that were the finalists, okay, were Fedoni, all right, and Jeremiah Charles. Now, Fedoni, he dunked just inside the free throw line, tried to go a little bit of Michael Jordan, his Royal Airness-esque. Okay, looked pretty good doing it. Got to give him props. All right, Charles completed a 360 dunk and a dunk between his legs in the first round. Now, again, those were the 2 finalists. All right, I should mention, Emmett Johnson did try to dunk over Coach Matt Rule. Not 100% successful, or 90% or 85, but both of them walked away healthy, and that's the main thing. I just love the effort, and it was entertaining to watch. So props to Emmett Johnson for that. And props to Matt Rule. Okay? Getting on the court, having some fun with his players, for the fans, for the people, for Husker Nation. Now in the finals, Fedoni had a 2-handed power slam behind his head. Charles, very impressive windmill, 2-hand reverse dunk. Jeremiah Charles, the redshirt freshman from Arlington, Texas, is your dunk contest champion. Nebraska football dunk contest champion. And in my humble opinion, if you watched the NBA slam dunk competition recently, this was way better. Dear Lord. That thing used to be awesome, and now it's not. Kind of like bowl games. It used to be you'd get the stars to go do it, and it was entertaining. Now stars or the big-name guys don't want to do it as much. It's a shame LeBron James never did it. Just, what? Come on, man. And then he even talked about, I'm going to do it next year. I watched him. It was about 10 years ago at this point. He goes, I'm going to do it next year, and then he never did it. But that's kind of how bowl games are. Unless you're in the CFP playoff, like, people don't really want to do it. That's kind of what the NBA dunk contest has turned into. Thankfully, we had the best dunkers from the Nebraska football team, which made this significantly better than the NBA dunk contest, in my opinion. All right. Another court storming, ladies and gentlemen. Another court storming incident, I should say. All right, Wake Forest. Hey, going to talk about Wake Forest. Shout out to Wake Forest. We're going to care for a few minutes here. Wake Forest upsets number 8 Duke in basketball, 83-79. Big win. Shout out to the Demon Deacons. Now their fans stormed the court after the win. Duke's 7-foot star, Kyle Filipowski, hurt his knee after a fan taunted and ran into him a little bit. Okay? Now I'm going to get into this a little bit more in a second because before that fan ran into him, it looked like he initiated contact with another fan. Now I will say this. If you've got a rough loss like that, and that is an in-state rivalry, Wake Forest Duke, it's an in-state rivalry. And like there's a reason they don't let the media right into NFL locker rooms right after the game. There's usually about a 15-minute waiting period just to let people cool down. Because people don't tend to make the best decisions when they're all riled up. So as you're walking off the court after a tough loss, you're probably a little fired up. Doesn't make it okay. But he initiated contact. Filipowski did with a Wake Forest fan, and then the next person ran into him, and it looked like he actually legit hurt his knee. Okay, unlike all-time great basketball player, Caitlin Clark, an all-time great flopper, Caitlin Clark as well. So the question is, should court storming be banned? So I went on social media today because I don't have time to watch all these shows. These folks do a great job. I took 13 screenshots from different folks on sports talk shows on national TV that I thought were interesting, and some of them were just interesting tweets. All right, so the first one, undisputed. Keyshawn Johnson says court storming should not be outlawed amidst the Kyle Filipowski incident. Quote, it's part of the fabric of college sports, end quote. Mid-Major Madness, this is a tweet I saw, never end court storming. All right, first take, whether you like the show or not. Here's what Stephen A. Smith had to say. You've got to, and I quote, you've got to surround them with, again, real security folks. They're not going to do it because they don't want to spend money, end quote. That's Stephen A. Smith. Okay. The Athletic on Twitter. Court storms have long been some of the most iconic visuals in college basketball, but they've increasingly come under fire for player safety concerns. Should they be banned? That's what we're talking about here. Now, Greeny on Get Up today, and I quote, these are people who belong where they are, who are being run into by people who absolutely do not belong where they are, end quote. In other words, players belong on the court, fans don't, in his opinion. Real Skip Bayless calls for the NCAA to ban court storming after latest incident, is the next one. Jay Billis had a few things to say, and I quote, detain all those on the court and then arrest. What could have, end quote. And then the rest of the tweet says, what could have possibly gone wrong with that scenario at Wake Forest? Had they detained people, maybe they act a little bit more smartly is basically what they're getting at. David Shepard on Twitter. I'm unfamiliar with David Shepard, but he had a few interesting things to say. The court storming that happened to Duke and Kyle Filipowski on Saturday is completely unacceptable. With 0.7 seconds left, Wake Forest fans were clearly on the floor. Okay, whether you agree with court storming or not, I think we can all agree, wait till the game's over if you're going to do anything. And then he goes, there is zero place for this in college sports. At some point, there's going to be a career-threatening injury. Jay Billis again, it could all stop tomorrow, but they don't want it to. They like it. End quote. Shannon Sharp on First Take, and I quote, I understand there have been a lot of traditions that schools go back 50 years, 100 years, but it's time to outlaw some of these, end quote. Jay Billis again. It was network policy not to show the court stormings because we didn't want to encourage it. So what does that say about the way we in the media use these images now? We can't deny that we encourage it or at least tactically approve of it. If they wanted to stop it, they could stop it tomorrow. You don't have to stop the court storming. One time, all you have to do is once they're on the court, don't let them off. Just say you're all detained and give them all citations or arrest them if you want to. And then court stormings will stop the next day. So those were 13 different screenshots I took from other people's thoughts. Now, here's my thought. It's tough because once you eliminate court stormings, if that's what you want to do, you can't go back. And to me, it's like tearing down the goalpost. Should that really happen if you think about it? Like, it's really destruction of property, honestly. But does anybody look at it that way? I'm not for stopping tearing down the goalpost. I'm for doing it smarter. Okay? Same thing with court storming. For me, there's a couple things you could do. And if they don't work, then ban it if you have to. Because player safety is paramount. And even if you're mad at Caitlin Clark for what she did, or Filipowski for initiating contact and then legit getting ran into, it's not a great moment for those players because they've just had a rough loss on the road. They're not going to be at their best decision-making ability. That doesn't give them a reason to not be held accountable to a certain extent, but I'm going to get to that. My first response is I would not ban court storming until I try these things, and let's see if they work. My first thought is have actual security there. Jay Billis, was it Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp? I don't remember. One of the guys I just mentioned said they could have better security. They just choose not to because they don't want to pay for it. These universities that make gobs of money can afford to pay for actual security, and they can educate them on what to do at the end of a game if there's a court storming. Also, here's what you can do. We have 4,000 player meetings every year. Okay? There's no reason you can't educate players if this happens, because I saw another picture that someone tweeted out after Colorado State, who's actually pretty decent at basketball this year, they got upset somewhere on the road, and they showed a picture of the Colorado State players walking off the field peacefully with security next to them, and the opposing fans nowhere near them. So my point is simply this: it can be done, or we can at least try. Appoint security, real security, educate them on what to do at the end of a game and how to protect players. Number two, educate players during one of those 4,000 player meetings that we have every year on what to do. Don't expect them. There's a reason you do fire drills. You don't just have a fire, hear the alarm go off, oh my God, we all know what to do. No, you do fire drills, okay? So you can educate these players, take a meeting, wouldn't even take long, 10 minutes in one meeting, so that they know what to do in the heat of the moment, so there's not panic, much like a fire drill, so you know what to do. When these players are upset, they will remember, because they deal with pressure all the time, I have been trained to go to this spot on the court, the security guards have been trained to meet me there, and we will walk off. The other thing you can do is you can educate fans. Fans are all over social media, they're all over what their teams are doing, because they're passionate. If you put out something letting fans know, avoid opposing players, avoid this part of the court, avoid the security guards, I think we have a shot at keeping something that I think is pretty cool, which is court storming. And we can do it safely. It's not that hard. It doesn't have to be completely one end of the spectrum or the other. Hey, let's keep court stormings and all the chaos that's happening, or let's just completely get rid of it. How about we take a second, set up some appropriate security, educate them on what to do, educate the players in a 10-minute meeting just once before the season starts. This is where you go. Okay, if you have a big, tough loss on the road and you think the fans are going to storm the court, and do the same thing with the fans. Avoid this part of the court, avoid the security guards, and avoid the opposing team. Because if you don't, we have to end it. Also, if you injure an opposing player, you might be detained, and you might not like what happens or where you go after that. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least we gave it the old college try. Because once you eliminate court stormings, it's going to be really hard to go back. Let me know in the comments. Hey, am I right? Am I crazy? I'm crazy, but am I cuckoo crazy? Let me know. Call or text 402-464-5685. I should mention in about 6 minutes, I'm going to be joined by John Bonamego. This is a guy who's won a Super Bowl, who's coached football for nearly 40 years, 38 years to be exact, nearly 2 decades in the NFL, nearly 2 decades of Division I college football. He was a head coach as well. I think I mentioned former Super Bowl champion. Okay. Let's get to Nebraska basketball. So we're going to end this show. Send me your questions and comments throughout the show, and I will respond throughout the show because I always want to hear what you folks have to say. But the last 10 minutes of this show is going to be dedicated to all the Husker sports that I can talk about as fast as I can for that last, it's actually 8 minutes. Okay, from softball to baseball to basketball to swim and dive, because there was Big Ten championships, track and swim and dive and all these sports. I'm going to try to get through them all. Bowling. If you're not aware, we have one of the best bowling programs in the entire country. Okay, that's what I'm going to talk about because there was so much that happened, including multiple Husker teams competing in Big Ten championships this past weekend. And I want to talk about them. But real quick, basketball. You know what? I'm going to get to some of your questions. I will say basketball for the other sports at the end of the show. So real quick, let's get to some of your questions. Okay. 1 seeds own 100, talking about the NCAA tournament here from Vitz Watson. 1 seeds own 152 all-time record against 16 seeds in basketball. That's why I don't like buys, rare but not impossible. But are they really better? Even when they won, were they actually better? That's my other question. Wait until the game is over, then celebrate. Look at 1982, talking about stormings or rushing the field. Look at 1982 Nebraska and Oklahoma and 97 Missouri. So I played with an individual. I think I've referenced this before in the past. My redshirt freshman year, we were at Missouri. They stormed the field because they beat us, and he punched a guy. And I'll be honest, I was not far from him. I saw what happened. It was self-defense in his eyes. Half of this is just being smart and educating and having a plan beforehand instead of no plan, utter chaos, and, oh, we should just ban it without even trying to do better in the process. All right, Stephen, what happened? What happens with court storming and alcohol and events? So when alcohol becomes a factor, decision-making may not be as sharp, kind of like when you wake up at 3:30. I hope what I've said, half of it has made sense today. I think it has. It's probably more than usual anyways. When you get alcohol involved, I think it's one of those things where, again, it's trying to educate people beforehand. And it's trying to be aware as you're the security as the game's about to end, kind of telling people, hey, don't come to this area. This is where we're going to be. It's going to be where we're walking the team off. Like, it doesn't take much as the security guards are getting ready for the end of the game. If it might be an upset, even if it doesn't happen, just be ready in case it is. Hey, stay away from this area. It's not that hard, okay? Court storming is already banned and has been for years and years. It keeps happening. That's via Moonbot 7. It keeps happening, okay? It's not been completely banned, by the way. I am going to get briefly into Nebraska basketball real quick. Yes, I am. We got about a couple minutes before we go to break. All right. Husker basketball beats Minnesota 73-55. Pretty much a dominating performance. Now, at halftime, it was a little closer. I think it was an 8-point differential, but it separated as the game went along. This is Fred Hoiberg's first 20-win season in his 5-year tenure with the Huskers. The 7th time Nebraska's had 20 wins in program history, and the 4th straight conference win by 15 points or more for the Huskers. It's the first time since 1911, think about this, first time since 1911, when we were in the Missouri Valley Conference, speaking of conferences that no longer exist, okay, that the win over Minnesota, hold on, I read that completely wrong. The 4th straight conference win by 15 points for the Huskers for the first time since 1911 when we were in the Missouri Valley Conference. I had done so well until I reading that sentence and reading one sentence in my own handwriting, which is not phenomenal, caught up to me. So I'll read it one more time so it makes sense. It's the first time, okay, our 4th straight conference win by 15 points for the Huskers for the first time since 1911 when we were in the Missouri Valley Conference. There, I can read and speak at the same time. Pat on the back. All right. The win over Minnesota pushed Nebraska to number 41 in the NET rankings. All right. There's only a few, very winnable, I might add, games left in the regular season for Nebraska basketball. If they win out, which they can, got to win away from Pinnacle Bank Arena to do this, but they could end up a 10 seed or even potentially as high as an 8 or a 7 seed going into the NCAA tournament. All right, ladies and gentlemen, when I come back, we're going to pay some bills. When I come back, I'm going to be joined by a Super Bowl champion winning coach. Then we'll take another break and we'll finish the show with a whole plethora of Husker sports. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Ready to upgrade your combine in 2024? The team at Landmark Implement is here to help find the right combine to fit your operations needs. Choose from 4.5%, for up to 60 months or a 12-month interest waiver, followed by John Deere financial rates with approved credit through the end of February. When you purchased a pre-owned S or X Series combine from Landmark, know you are backed by Landmark's extensive parts and service network with mobile techs and parts drop-off points to keep you up and running. View our current inventory online at landmarkimp.com or stop by your local Landmark to experience the Landmark difference.
Life is all about balance, so how about a little sweet and a little heat to make your week? At Wings and Rings, we're introducing our all-new Hot Honey menu for the month of March. Try our one-of-a-kind house-made sauce on the brand-new Hot Honey chicken sandwich or our Hot Honey shrimp and slaw. And of course, you can get it on the traditional boneless or smoked wings that have made Wings and Rings your go-to neighborhood spot. But don't wait, Hot Honey is only here until April 1st. So stop by Wings and Rings at one of our 2 Lincoln locations today, on O Street and on Village Lane.
Delicious, decadent, scrumptious, delightful. What other words can I use to describe something so good I can't even tell it's healthy? How about heavenly? Chef Bob created heavenly waffles with an incredible fluffy recipe packed with protein and loaded with a plethora of angelic toppings to elevate the experience beyond the typical waffle and syrup. Don't just take our word for it. Join us for Heavenly Waffles Wednesday to experience heaven for yourself.
Enjoy Heavenly Waffles this Wednesday, February 28th from 8 to 11 a.m. in our 93.7 The Ticket studios. Parking is available along 11th Street and in nearby garages.
Stop by the brand new Midwest Bank this Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. for their grand opening. J&DP will be broadcasting on-site for Old School, and there will be tons of prizes available for anyone who stops by, as well as complimentary food and drinks. That's this Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. at Midwest Bank on 70th and Pioneers.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
You did feel the need to cuss in this one. Yeah, you cannot be this mentally fragile. Act like you're a damned NCAA tournament team.
Listen, I'm not going to change the way I tweet.
Do you think Fred saw the tweet? Do you think Fred saw the tweet and called a timeout and they're like, Sorensen's upset? I got to get this.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket. In every office, there's 2 types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels and Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels and Joe.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Against Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Against Sports at 48th and Vine.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza. The big one. All the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstoRats.com for amazing offers. And if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Call Bats to Rats today at 402-781-8691. That's 402-781-8691. Bats to Rats.
You're listening to Adam Carriker on The Ticket on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Adam Carriker on The Ticket. I'm about to be joined by a former Super Bowl winning head coach. But before I do, I got a text from a buddy of mine. I asked if I could use his name. He's a coward, so he said no. But he said, hey, big wussy, I get up at 4 o'clock every day. What's the problem with 3:30? Well, first of all, let me say your name, or you're the big wussy. But I get up at 5:45. But when I lose out on 2 hours and 15 minutes of sleep, I ain't my wife. My wife can survive on like 4 hours every night. My mother-in-law can do the same. My mom, not so much. If she don't get 8 or 9, watch out. My sister, who claims to be 5 foot tall, love you, Carrie, same thing. Okay, I ain't one of those people that can survive on 3 or 4 hours. And when I lose out on 2 hours and 15 minutes of sleep, I'm actually doing pretty good this morning. When you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And also, back to Vince Watson, appreciate the comment, but 150 to 2, okay, is the record for 1 seeds versus 16 seeds in the most unpredictable playoff that any sport has, which is the NCAA tournament. That's your argument as to why 1 seeds in college football should play 16 seeds and 2 should play 15? I don't think so. I don't buy that. But just my thoughts, just my opinion. All right, let's bring on my guest here. Okay. He's a former Super Bowl winning coach. He coached 38 years of football, almost 20 years of Division I ball, almost 20 years in the National Football League. He's been a head coach as well at Central Michigan, which was also his alma mater. All right, Mr. John Bonamego, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Adam. How are you?
I'm good. Is it right if I call you Coach Bono? Does that work for you?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
All right, I got a bunch of questions for you, of course, but my first 4 really is like one question broken into 4 parts. So let's start with this. What are your thoughts on the state of college football as a whole? And is NIL and the transfer portal, do you think it's been good for college football or not?
Well, I think it's been good and bad. I think it's definitely benefited the players. I think that's a very good thing. I think all of the rules really have benefited the players. And, you have to look at it, kind of big picture and ask yourself, okay, how is that a bad thing? Now, has it created more headaches for college coaches? Has it created more headaches for administrators? Absolutely it has. And, that's the challenge of, really everything moving forward is how do we reel this in? How do we make this more manageable for those people? Because it definitely affects the staffs. You've got not just on the recruiting, standpoint, which is already, a packed calendar, but now, there's a whole nother recruiting season in the portal season. And it's just as important to be winners and be successful in that arena as it is in the high school arena. And so, where do you kind of draw the line to make it really more manageable for the institutions themselves? That's to me where, where there's some, adjustments maybe that to be made moving forward.
No, it's perfect because that leads into my next question. Because just a couple of examples here. Boston College head coach leaves the team to be a coordinator in the NFL. Chip Kelly leaves the head coach of UCLA job to be a coordinator at another Big Ten school in Ohio State. Georgia State's head coach, just a week ago, after they had started spring practice, mind you, so they had to stop spring practices because they no longer have a head coach, left the program to go be a tight ends coach at South Carolina. Okay, what are your thoughts on coaches, some of them seemingly taking downgrades, so to speak, going from a head coach to a coordinator position in college football, some of them going from head coach to a coordinator position in the NFL? What are your thoughts on all this movement that we see with college head coaches and how the way college football is set up right now is probably having a big impact on those things?
Yeah, I think it is, but I think there's always more to the story too. And first you got to consider there's a very finite number of opportunities each year. So it's not like you're going to have a mass exodus of college head coaches. And we left one off. Mark Lindquist was the head coach at Buffalo, also left to go be an assistant at Alabama. But yeah. There's only going to be so many opportunities. I mean, there's only 32 NFL teams, and I think there's always a backstory too. I mean, you take each of those situations. There have been a lot of rumors about Chip Kelly, trying to get in the NFL as a coordinator and just not, being happy at UCLA, whatever the reasons being. So I think it's been well documented that Chip was looking for a way out of there. So that's one. Two, Boston College is a tough job. It really is. It's one of the schools that probably has been impacted the most by, the NIL and the transfer portal in particular, because their academic standards are so high. Boston College is not going to take a student, that just has like one semester left to graduate. They're not going to want to give that Boston College degree to somebody like that. So that job has a lot more challenges than, say a school that, can get anybody in. They'll take anybody as long as they're in good academic standing. So, maybe Hafley was looking for a way out too. So I don't think it's necessarily a trend. I think the things we discussed have added to the pressure and the stress of being a head coach in college, and some guys, decide that they've had enough, that it's maybe not worth it, or they want to get out while the getting is good. It happens. It's always happened in coaching, and it always will.
So I have a question about the direction and the future of college football, because when I was growing up, and UFC was just kind of starting out, but like it was Lennox Lewis versus Mike Tyson, Holyfield Tyson. You had I forget their names, but the big time heavyweight Russian boxers. Like boxing, when it came to self-defense type fighting or things of that nature, fighting sports, was top dog. Now, probably UFC. And that part of that's because of UFC's growth and because of Dana White's a great promoter, But I feel like boxing, outside of, every once in a while a Floyd Mayweather type fight, and he's not boxing anymore. You got Logan Paul and the Paul brothers who will hop in, and they're really good at boxing. They do really well. They hold their own, but it's a little bit more of a spectacle because they're not just full-time boxers. My point is there's really no commissioner over boxing, and I could argue that the popularity of boxing has kind of declined, especially since I was a kid, whereas the UFC, WWE is making more money than they've ever made. I understand it's predetermined. But my point is this, those things have been on the rise. And I think the biggest difference is there's no overarching commissioner for boxing, whereas there is for UFC. And despite everything going on with Vince McMahon right now, he's been the guy at the head of WWE for decades. Right now, there's no college football commissioner. And right now, everyone's out for themselves. And my fear is long term, when my kids are my age now, will college football, and I hope not, will the popularity of the sport have declined because you got the Big Ten who's out for themselves and the SEC who's out for themselves, and you got basically these two conferences that are trying to take over. What do you think the future of college football looks like? Is it as positive as we hope it is, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think so, because no matter how you slice it and dice it, people love to watch the college football. There's too many diehard fans out there. I don't see college football going away. I just see it evolving in different ways. I mean, it's, look at all of the conference realignment. I mean, yeah, you can be a traditionalist, and I consider myself a traditionalist, and you might miss the old Pac-12 and the old Big Ten, but it's changed, and it's not going to go back. And so there's no sense in, looking back. It's more about looking, forward to all of the new, rivalries that will develop from this, the conference realignments. I think it's going to be an exciting thing to watch moving forward, and whatever challenges there are right now, I think they're all things that can be worked through. through, and they will be, because there's enough interest, enough passion, and frankly, enough dollars behind it. To your point about the commissioner, I think it is something that's needed. I think that college football has gotten big enough where, that should be a job that, that person kind of, the conferences have their commissioners, each conference, but, maybe there's a college football commissioner that kind of resides over those conference commissioners.
I think we need someone who's looking out for the greatest good of the overall sport as a whole, rather than individual conferences. I think that would immensely help the future of the sport. I don't want to be presumptuous, but I'll just throw my name out there. If anybody's interested, you can get a hold of me. All right. I'm not hard to find. Just throwing that out there, folks. All right. Let's talk a little bit of Nebraska football specifically. Go ahead.
To make one final point on that, though, is, the American Football Coaches Association, which is a very, very strong association, does have, a president, and that, that position carries quite a bit of weight. It really, truly does. It's both politically in Washington, D.C. with the NCAA, with the coaches themselves and the institutions themselves. That's at least a starting point, because all of these issues do run through the AFCA. I just wanted to make that point.
I would like more, whether it's the president of the AFCA or just a straight up college football commissioner. I think that president needs a little bit more power, in my personal opinion, but someone whose job is to look at the overall business of college football and do what's best for college football as a whole. But we're kind of saying the same thing here. Let's chat a little bit of Nebraska football specifically. So when a coach like Matt Rule, comes into a place like Nebraska, which was so successful for so long, haven't quite had that same level of success in a while now, so with the new landscape of college football, how hard, or how maybe not as challenging as we might think, however you think it may be, can it be to build a program like Nebraska back up?
I think that in this day and age, as long as you have the resources, that you can build it up very quickly. It should never have. It's never been easier, honestly, to build a program up, because, with the transfer portal and stuff, you and NIL, you can swing things in your favor very, very quickly. And, transfers don't have to sit out a year. I mean, there's so many ways to accumulate talent. I think your scouting staffs now, in this day and age of college football, take on an added level of importance. It's always been important, but being able to go out and identify those players that have all of the, everything you're looking for, and get them in the door. I think it's never been more readily accessible. Now, I don't know where Nebraska compares in terms of their resources, budgets, that sort of thing, what their collective is bringing in with the NIL, but, providing those are good, then I see no reason why they can't turn it around very quickly.
So the resources at Nebraska are very good. And there was an individual recently, and this was actually not specifically pertaining to Nebraska football program, but they made a comment to me, and I said, at some point, I'm going to use this on air, and this is the appropriate time. They said to me, Nebraska has more money than they know what to do with when it comes to funding their sports. And I said, that is a phenomenal line. I'm going to use it on air. So that is 100% true, said by someone that I trust, and I'm using their line on air. Now, there are some jerky wars going on. I don't know if people are aware of this. The beef jerky wars are going on. Started on, I think, Saturday? If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, I might save that for the next program. There's already some pipeline jerky out there. Plenty good jerky. Go buy it. We don't need any other jerky in the market, if you know what I'm talking about. All right, last couple questions I got for you. Coach, what is the biggest difference between college football and the NFL? And part two of that question is, what was it like winning the Super Bowl in a great game over the Bengals a couple of years ago, 23-20?
So the first part of your question, what was it like coaching college football versus the NFL? I didn't get that. I'm sorry, Adam.
What's the biggest difference between college football and the NFL?
Oh, man, there's several, and I really enjoyed both. In college, I think you have the ability to impact someone's life in a very positive way. I always considered myself a transformational coach versus a transactional. The mentoring part of football was something that's always been very important to me, and was, that's a huge draw in college football. For me personally, the NFL is more of a business. Now you do have the ability to form very strong, lasting relationships. It's just, that it is more transactional because it is a business, and but you still have the ability to help players. If they'll listen. And as a special teams coordinator, where it's more about teaching guys what it is to be a pro, and the fact that you just you drawing a check for playing, that doesn't qualify. That doesn't mean you're necessarily a pro. So I'd say that was always an important part of it for me. And I enjoyed both. I really did, and was fortunate, to have been able to do it for a long time. The Super Bowl thing, and I'll answer this question very honestly and candidly, was very difficult for me because although I was on the staff with LA that season, I was not physically with the team, and so that was. It was awesome, to be a part of that, but I did miss out on, the day-to-day grind of it. And that was, so it's a kind of a double-edged sword for me personally. And not many people know about that. I have not spoken about it publicly until now, but I'm going to be working on a book in the upcoming year. And I hope when it's done, I'd like to be able to send you a copy of it. And that's one of the topics we'll hit on in detail in the book.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. I'll shoot you a text after we hang up with the interview here. So if you want to shoot that my way, I'd love to read that. You've been doing this for a long time at a high level, near 4 decades of coaching, and coaching D1 ball, coaching NFL football. So I'd love to read that. And I may have fibbed a little because I just saw a message from Cliff Castoral in our chat here. Okay, he says, "Hey, Adam, from Shands Cancer Hospital in Gainesville, Florida." And I have a note here, and maybe you have a message for Cliff or anyone who's dealing with cancer, because in 2015, you were diagnosed with tonsil cancer. You completed radiation treatment. And from what I understand at this point is you're now cancer-free. But I didn't know if maybe you had a message for Cliff or anyone out there who may be battling cancer at this moment in time.
Man, just don't give up faith and keep fighting. I learned a lot about myself and about that disease when I went through my episode. We can't forget the people that are close to the people that are fighting it as well. I'm talking about the families. In my case, I had a lot of people reach out and offer, advice and prayers, and it was very, very much appreciated. But your family's kind of along for the ride, and they're kind of left. They're left in a position where they just kind of got to watch and see how you're holding up, and so. Prayers up for the families and, the loved ones of the people that are having to go through watching somebody that they care about suffer.
Well, I appreciate your words, Coach. Hopefully they can be of some comfort to people battling cancer, to the family members, supporting those in that battle as well. So I appreciate your time, and thanks for joining me today, John.
Yes, thanks, Adam. Enjoyed it, and let's talk again soon. Take care.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Stop by the brand new Midwest Bank this Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. for their grand opening. J&DP will be broadcasting on-site for Old School, and there will be tons of prizes available for anyone who stops by, as well as complimentary food and drinks. That's this Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. at Midwest Bank on 70th and Pioneers.
Go Hog Wild Pit Barbecue.
It's $5.99 barbecue time. Hurry to Hog Wild for a complete barbecue meal that's only $5.99. Get a one-meat sandwich loaded with our award-winning barbecue, plus your choice of a classic side and drink for just $5.99. Upgrade your sandwich to beef brisket for just $1 more. Join us for lunch or dinner in Lincoln at 3210 Cornhusker Highway. Order online at GoHogWild.com.
But don't be late, we close at 8.
Think you need a new furnace due to a cracked heat exchanger? Call Bryant for a free second opinion. Might save you thousands, no matter what brand. Bryant Air Conditioning and Heating. We do whatever it takes.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round. And their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Be a memory for your grandchildren. Among Nebraska adults age 65 or older, 47% report current alcohol use. Drinking too much can cause harm to children, family members, and loved ones. By drinking less, you will still be around for your grandchildren. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. The last few years have been wild, but we've been here for you through all the ups and downs, and we'll be here for you when you need us the most. For all your travels and for your day-to-day driving. With winter conditions causing problems all over town, the last thing anyone needs this year is constant car troubles. Let us help you drive in peace and make sure you drive to work and to winter destinations safe. A1 Automotive, 11th and L Street downtown, always honest answers.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox KFXL weather, sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, expecting sunny skies. It'll be breezy and incredibly warm as well. We'll see a high around 80. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 42. And tomorrow, increasing clouds throughout the day, falling temperatures too. See a high around 50. I'm meteorologist Kyle Klecker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Where will your path take you, traveler? To seek fortune in a new career? Or on a journey to distant lands for a well-deserved vacation? Wherever you go, one distraction could spell disaster. You can change your fate, adventurer. Don't drive distracted. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric is the call I make when I have a need for plumbing services. Whether it's for my home or office, if I need a repair to a water heater, softener, or even my garbage disposal, I know I can count on Action to help. In one simple call, their amazing customer service team promptly schedules a service call, often getting to my needs within a day. Action delivers honest quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
Ironhide Construction is hiring. They're looking for hardworking, self-motivated individuals who are team players. Ironhide Construction has openings for an experienced project manager, estimator, apprentice, skilled laborer, and erector or installer. They will train the right people and make sure you understand the position and requirements. At Ironhide Construction, it's own it, be honest, and do it right. Apply today and learn more about their other benefits at ironhideconstruction.com, where they're committed to you every step of the way.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine. Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstorats.com for amazing offers. And if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Call Bats to Rats today at 402-781-8691. That's 402-781-8691. Bats to Rats.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. You're listening to Adam Carriker on The Ticket on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Boom! Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Adam Carriker on The Ticket. We're going over a time. I hope Jake, my producer for the day, doesn't mind. All right. I didn't even mean to do that, but I ended up with a rhyme. All right. So a couple other things. I get on social media, a couple other things that I see immediately. Cam Newton, Heisman Trophy winner, national championship winning quarterback, #1 overall pick in the NFL draft, NFL MVP, darn near won a Super Bowl, had a 7-on-7 camp so kids could come in and display their skills and get looked at, and there's a fight. And he gets sucker punched, I might add. 3-on-1. Now, this was pointed out online. #1, his hat never came off. Those gigantic hats that he's always wearing. Okay, his style. I smell the swag. It's cool. Didn't even come off. A couple of thoughts on this. I'm going to move quickly. Cam, like every other year, I get online and I see a kid at one of your camps disrespecting you. Whether it's an actual fight, like this, which is absurd, or a kid getting in your face or something like that. Why do you need to keep doing these camps? I feel the need. I feel what you're talking about giving back and helping kids, but if this is how they're going to react, either don't do it or do it in a completely different area. And number 2, what's wrong with you kids? I mean, he's not making life-changing money off this. He doesn't need the exposure. I mean, the kids we're talking about, you're a free agent. Nobody wants you in the NFL. I mean, do any of these kids even have hair under their armpits yet? I mean, how disrespectful and entitled can you be? Not cool. All right. Josh Pate. All right. The other guy who claims he wants to be the college football commissioner one day. I'm really the guy. Okay. He can be my vice president. But he has some really good takes on college football. Just saw this tweet. Now, he put it out 4 hours ago, but I just saw it. He said 2 things I believe were baked into the ongoing college football playoff talks. #1, the Big Ten and SEC are preparing to expand again. One or both will restructure into 4 divisions and look to construct internal conference title mechanisms that are either a part of the college football playoff, i.e. conference semifinals and conference title games, or will produce a conference champ to compete in a college football playoff, possibly reduced in size? Yeah, I said that with a question mark because I'd be surprised if they ever reduce it unless they just oust all the other conferences and it's literally just the SEC and Big Ten. And that's your champion every year, which is possible. They've got all the power right now. He continues on to say, signing off on any college football playoff format that devalues their regular season or conference title games is a non-starter for the SEC/Big Ten. At least they're trying to preserve the regular season value in some way, shape, or form. The thing that's really unique about college football, I've never cared about being like every other sport. Why? Why be like everyone else when you can be the first you? One of one. That's what college football has always been. His final thought, we've been trained to think the college football playoff can't begin until conference titles are decided. Some new college football playoff models being discussed would change that. I just thought that was interesting. All right, David Harris sent it in the chat here. Court storming will not stop Court storming will stop when a person is laying on the court, not able to move, or a massive fight starts. I mean, you might be right. I just thought we'd give it a try by actually trying to be organized going into it rather than just accepting chaos and hoping for the best or canceling it entirely. You may be right. Obviously, I hope that you're not, because I don't want anyone to get injured. That goes without saying. But I wanted to read David's comment. All right. Bunch of Husker sports I want to give a shout out to. Okay. These first two sports, track, swim and dive, competed at the Big Ten championships in their respective sports. Nebraska track and field closed the Big Ten indoor championships on Saturday night in Geneva, Ohio, with a runner-up finish on the men's side and an 8th place finish on the women's side behind 4 Husker titles. The men went down to the wire trailing Wisconsin by just 8 points entering the final event. They ended with 118 team points compared to the Badgers' 122. Tyus Wilson jumped over a personal best height, clearing 7'3" to secure the high jump title and move up to 5th in the NCAA. Wilson's previous best was 7'1", a mark he's achieved multiple times this season. Reed Nelson claimed an 8th place finish, clearing a personal best 6'11.5". Jenna Rogers cleared a height of 6'2.25" in the women's high jump final to grab a runner-up finish. This marks her 5th time finishing among the top 2 high jumpers at a conference meet. Next up, shout out to Nebraska swim and dive. Huskers post-school record podium finishes on the final day. Nebraska swimming and diving closed the Big Ten championships on Saturday in West Lafayette, Indiana, with another school record and 2 additional podium finishes. Jenna Jorgensen shattered her own school record in the 1650 freestyle by 12 seconds with a 16:01. That time put the sophomore from Aberdeen, South Dakota at 5th in the event. 2 days ago, Jorgensen broke the 500 freestyle school record with a 4:41. Katarina Biahashi, I hope I said that right, added a 20th place finish with a time of 16:37. Mia Hall swam a time of 2:10 in the 200 breaststroke prelim to book a spot in Saturday night's A final and climb to 2nd Nebraska's all-time list. She went on to swim a 2:10 in the final to notch her 2nd 5th place finish of the meet. Sydney McCracken swam a 2:15 in the 200 breaststroke prelim to qualify for the C final, where she finished 24th overall with a 2:17. All right, Husker baseball. The Huskers take the series over the Lopes with a 10-8 win in the final. A wild back-and-forth affair, including a 6-run third inning by the Huskers, gave Nebraska its first series win of the season as they took down Grand Canyon 10-8 in the weekend finale on Sunday. Nebraska, 4-3 on the year, scored 10 runs on 9 hits with an error, while Grand Canyon, 5-3 on the season, had 8 runs on 12 hits and a trio of errors. Caden Brumbaugh and Cole Evans led the way at the plate for the Huskers, each finishing with a pair of hits. Josh Karen and Tyler Stone both added a knock and an RBI for the Big Red. In 4 games this weekend, Karen finished with a .353 batting average, 6 for 17 at the plate, and drove in a team-high 10 runs across the series. All right, Husker softball. Shout out to Jordy Ball as she gets healthy. Her and I will be doing an event together this summer at an Omaha Storm Chasers game. I think I mentioned this before. If I didn't, she's going to be throwing out a first pitch, and then I'm going to follow. God, why? I'm just going to do it left-handed. That way, when it looks so bad, at least as an excuse. Okay, comparatively speaking anyways. All right, Nebraska went 1-1 on the final day of the Mary Nutter Classic. The Huskers lost to number 20 Utah 9-5 before defeating Cal State Fullerton 6-3. Nebraska 8-6 on the year, finished with a 2-3 record in the tournament while playing 3 ranked teams and 5 teams that made the NCAA tournament a season ago. All right, shout out to one more sport. A lot of Husker sports doing a lot of phenomenal things. I might add, you got the tennis team, you've got golf, you got bowling, which is one of the best programs in America if you didn't know that. Shout out to every Husker sport there is. Okay, the wrestling team. Huskers closed wrestling season with a 26-9 victory over Arizona State. 5 straight bout wins helped the number 3 Nebraska wrestling team secure the 26-9 victory over number 19 Arizona State on Sunday afternoon, the Huskers' regular season finale. NU used a bonus point win and 7 dual victories overall to improve to 12-2, 6-2 in the Big Ten on the year, while Arizona State slipped to 7-6 on the season, 4-1 in the Pac-12. Action started at 1:25 with number 7 Caleb Smith facing number 24 Richard Figueroa. Figueroa held the 4-0 advantage after 2 periods. Smith then got the escape and was awarded 2 points due to Figueroa stalling, but it was not enough. Smith fell by decision 4-3 in a heck of a bout. Number 16, Jake Van Diem at Arizona State's number 27, Julian Klebov at 133. Van Diem attacked early and got a takedown and nearly 2 pinfall points to lead 5-1 with 2 periods remaining. Klebov then cut the lead with an escape and a late takedown, but Van Diem held on for the 8-6 decision and his 3rd straight victory. With the teams tied 3-3, number 7, Brock Hardy wrestled number 18, Jesse Vasquez, in the 3rd straight ranked bout. The two were scoreless in the first period before Hardy was dominant on top and entered the final period with 2 minutes of time remaining, with 2 minutes of riding time, Hardy then took over with an escape, penalty point, and a takedown to secure the 6-1 decision and improved to 15-6 on the year. And again, the wrestling team wins 26-9 over Arizona State. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me. I'm going to go take a nap. No, I'm not, but I'd like to. But I hope you all have a great Monday and a glorious week. Until next time, Husker Nation, go Big Red. Shout out to all the Husker sports, and always remember to throw the bug.
At Planet Fitness, leap